Hey guys, unfortunately Tony Price's microphone cut in and out during our conversation due to a shoddy cable. That being said, this episode is one for the books, and we had a blast chatting with Tony. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the episode. All right.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Are we rolling?
We're rolling. We're in.
rolling.
Wow.
Cold
We were
pod.
having too much conversation before.
I know.
So we had to get right into it.
So we're back. A special guest,
Hello, everybody.
Tony Price.
Tony Price.
A
Welcome.
Maximum
Hello.
Exposure.
Yeah,
Max
that's me.
X. Anthony Nemeth. Many names.
Many names. But I
Toronto
go with
legend.
I take the fake one because I'm scared of
Well, because
public.
it's zippy. You know?
Yeah,
Tony Price,
you
yeah,
know,
it's a good name.
You know, it's zippy. Thank you for saying that because the reason that I came up with his name when I was like 19. Do you remember Tarzan Dan?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, there was, and do you remember like obviously Z103.5
Oh,
and
yeah.
Hits 103 is a station. You know, they used to play all this like freestyle and dance music, and they always had DJ Tony Monaco or DJ Tarzan Dan. I think they probably did something. And I was just like, I really want a name like that, so I'm just like Tony Price. And I didn't know this, but there are two other people of note with that name, and one of them was Anthony Price. Anthony without the H.
Okay.
I don't know why the British had to do that, take the H out, you know. But he was, yeah, he designed suits for Roxy Music in their heyday, and they're pretty nice. And then when I was living in New Mexico in Taos, someone said, "Oh yeah, this is a Tony Price piece," and they pointed at this crazy sculpture. I'm like, what? Is this a joke? And then I'm like, what are you talking about? And then there was a guy who lived in Los Alamos where they developed, I guess, like large parts of the Manhattan Project to build the nuclear bomb happened there. And this guy, I guess, in the 60s or 50s, went there and started collecting all the scrap metal that they were using to develop it and started building these robots. And it's pretty crazy shit. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But he died from, touching nuclear fucking metal. So, but anyways, yeah.
That's how it started.
Let's go.
So we got several Tony Prices.
Maybe I should change my name again. This is like,
I mean,
No, that's a
might as well
fucking great namesake.
That's beautiful. Anyways, from Tarzan Dan to the Manhattan Project,
well, the Tony Price thing for me is always funny because, like, I feel like you have this like level of like anonymity. Would you say that you do? Because you also just don't.
It's funny because I only started getting those charges laid against me when Instagram became a thing.
Right.
I don't have a personal Instagram account.
You used to though, right?
I don't know. I may have had one for a brief time when I was in like 2012 or something.
Yeah.
But I don't have any personal social media. For many reasons. But, also I live in the East End of Toronto, and we'll get into this later.
Yeah,
no
yeah,
one
yeah.
crosses Spadina. in the
No,
city.
no.
God forbid. And as a protest, I don't cross it westbound. This is the only time
I was
I'm
gonna say it's rare to have like the fucking king of the East End venturing west
we'll
on a
get into
rainy
that later.
night.
But I mean, in terms of anonymity, it's like I don't do it on purpose. I just really do almost have like a crippling fear of like photographing myself
Right.
on the internet.
Right.
And I think that's what that means. I really just. I mean, it's just insecurity. I mean, it's not like I'm like walking around in a black trench coat and evading the public eye. It's like,
But I mean, you did roll up in the pouring rain wearing a black trench coat. holding a
It fits
Perrier.
your music vibe too. It's all one.
I almost feel like this weather and this
This
episode,
is the perfect.
this
Well,
is
no,
like-
because I was listening to IBM Contra on the way here, and just like I was paranoid of everything, and like the rain was falling down, and there was rain in the music, and I was just like I was like, is that guy following me? Is that guy in the black trench coat following me?
well, that's perfect. That's what it's supposed to be.
No, it fucking does the
Yeah.
thing.
You know.
It does it.
But back to the anonymity part was funny because Austin, when he came here, he's like Tony Price. He's like he's a black guy.
I thought for sure.
Hey, I don't know what to say to that.
But this goes to my point because I think the Instagram is so curated, and I mean this in a good way, but it's like, and even with when you do incorporate original stuff, whether it be like graphic design for posters or flyers or album covers or blah blah blah, oftentimes it's hard to tell what, and like this again a good thing. Like when you look at the feed, it's hard to tell like what is like yours and what is like something from like the 80s or 90s.
Yeah.
So like you get kind of, and even with pictures of you, because like there are pictures of you on there.
Yeah, there are a few. Yeah.
So I like
You
pulled,
do look like you could be like an 80s high school character too, or something. You know what I mean?
A jock. That's my insecurity, is I'm an anonymous jock. Maybe I am. I don't know. I really don't know. But to your point, I mean, and to the point I made before that, like,
Yeah.
I didn't. This whole thing was born. Like this whole thing. I mean, Instagram account and
Yeah.
Maximum Exposure, which is my production company or record label or whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah.
it all came out of trying to find a way to exist on the internet.
Yeah.
To promote what I didn't, to put out my music, to show what I'm doing, see what everyone's up to and whatever, but also to kind of, I don't know, I really liked Tumblr and Blogspot.
Yeah,
I really liked what that did to me as a teenager, you know,
Yeah.
in terms of like discovering things or whatever, and I just found that this could be used in that way, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Sick.
I mean,
And it's definitely working because you're right. It is very much like a Tumblr.
yeah.
Like as far as just like the combination of found images and your own stuff, and it becoming this like cohesive like account.
Yeah, it's like,
It always comes back to Instagram.
I know. I know. Every time I listen to you guys, I mean, what else? That's it.
But it's literally that like 90% of our waking existence now.
Yeah.
So,
You like have to have it.
It's so
unfortunately.
bad.
But I mean, it goes beyond Instagram. Instagram was just like what it was at that moment. You know, it could have been Tumblr, whatever. But I remember when I first discovered your existence, Josh, was on MySpace and vice versa. And I was like,
Yeah.
damn, you live like on my street. This is like, I've known Josh since we were probably like 18 or
Yeah.
something.
Right,
Yeah.
But
But we also both at the time had like basically anonymous like projects.
yeah, exactly. It's the exact same shit on loop forever. You know?
Literally, like, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, click on the photo, it's just like a blurred out like image with like, and then you look at mine, it's like photo. Like, you just,
But there was something about Instagram that, I'm sorry, fuck Instagram. There's something more, like, to be a musician specifically, or someone who expresses themselves with sound or whatever. MySpace was just like way more of a friendly environment for that. I mean, I can specifically remember with the band you had with Joe. It was like you put your influences. Like there was literally a slot for influences.
Yeah,
And I was being an asshole when you're an 18-year-old blogspot surfing guy. You're like, oh, so they're into Canon swell maps. Follow or whatever the hell you do.
we literally had Canon swell.
I know. So did I. And that's why we're here.
So funny because I remember like having like a big like you had to pick and choose carefully like what you were gonna put down, and it meant a lot to
You were
be like,
curating how you were perceived by the
curating your
world.
fans.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
you're like not even fans, but you're like it's part of the pull into the world was like kind of being like, oh, these guys fuck with Can,
Right,
like,
yeah.
therefore like let me at least click play.
Yeah.
But now you can't really even do that. Where would you put your influences on
yeah,
Instagram?
I
But I
know.
guess you do.
I guess that's where this comes from also. Holy shit. But do you see what I'm saying though? But like it was just way more conducive to showing what you're trying to do as a musician.
Yeah.
I don't know what none of these new platforms, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Whether places that you go to find music,
Yeah.
even something like NTS, Dublab, those
Yeah.
radio-focused ones, or you have like the streaming services like Apple and whatever. None of these allow a space for that expression of, that the expression of that side of being a musician or an artist working within sound and music.
Yeah.
And I think about this all the time because, as I'm speaking from someone who listens to a lot of music and someone who grew up buying CDs or buying records, album art and liner notes, like those were extensions of everything that was inside of the music, you know, and it was a huge part of the image you create, or the image that the world you enter when you listen to music visually.
Yeah.
And that is completely gone for the most part from the experience of listening to music. And I think that people can misunderstand how Spotify works, for instance, and yell about being owed a living wage for their shitty EP. but the worst part about all of this is that it's kind of like it's like it destroyed such an important part of engaging with music. Like, that's a worse fucking problem than being paid $1 for your record, you know?
Yeah. No, but I mean, we talk about this all the time. We're always talking about album art and how much it pisses me off when it's bad.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But it's like it's as important. It's like it's such a part of entering the world, and like, you know, again, going back to the Instagram and also just your album covers from like since you've been doing the Tony Price like project, but like it all, you look at the cover and you at least vaguely have an idea of what's coming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, okay, this is gonna be some like dark, like computer funk shit, like, and you're just like, let's go, and then it starts, and you're like, exactly.
Well, it's like a movie poster or something too.
Yeah.
Like those are very important that they lead you in the right direction of what the movie's gonna be.
Yeah.
Or else you watch the movie and you're very disappointed.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like the whole Inherent Vice syndrome where the like trailer for that movie was like so off, and then
Yeah.
people were pissed that they didn't get the movie that they were expecting. You
Well,
know
same
what I
with
mean?
Eyes Wide Shut as well.
Eyes Wide Shut too. There's
Classic
so
one where
many,
they're just
yeah.
like, it's like, da-na-na. It's like you think it's this
Yes.
like, and then you're like, wait, no, it's the greatest movie of all time.
I think the in terms of covers or
Yeah.
just posters or that kind of thing, book covers. Have you looked at
Oh
book
my
covers in the
God.
past 10 years? Like, what happened there?
Yeah,
I don't know
so
what happened.
true. No, I don't
like,
know.
what happened.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I actually kind of fuck with like the like indigo book cover style.
Why?
I don't, but I oftentimes see these books when I go to like Indigo, and I'm like, one day I just want to pick up one of these, like one of these like Oprah's bestseller, or like Heather's picks.
And then just a
picks,
sticker
yeah.
half the size of the cover saying that it was Oprah's pick of November.
But you know what? They always have like, it's always like green and orange and like blue, and they have like this weird
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
like
yeah.
blurred out like flower kind of thing going on. I mean, maybe it's what the book is like. In which
Maybe,
case, that would be a
maybe.
good thing.
You're right, you're
It's
right.
doing its job.
But they all just look like
No, but
kind
you're
of
right.
like design. There's no actual like introduction to the story of any kind now. It's just like some interesting looking design, and that's it.
Yeah.
And like a color, and then Heather's pick on the corner.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Well, that's more important than the cover at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
whoever Heather is.
I was looking, you know, I this probably has something to do with like some economic issue in terms of, you know, cutting costs and all this shit.
Yeah.
You know, the stuff that's kind of happened over the past 30 or 40 years. But I was looking at someone's CD collection recently. Like,
Yeah.
you know, haven't had a CD. I've sold all my CDs like 15 years ago. But
Yeah.
I was looking through like someone's copy of Daydream Nation.
Yeah.
Or, you know, even like OK Computer. Just these
Yeah.
like, you know, classic kind of 90s or 80s albums. And
Yeah.
the booklets are stunning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
they look beautiful, you know. And
Yeah.
it's. I wonder how much of this. Well, I don't wonder. I know that it has to do with the fact that there's just like that's not an issue to these
Yeah.
labels or to people putting out music. You know, so much of the responsibility of creating a product out of someone's music has just been outsourced, or I don't even know if that's the right term, onto the artist. You know?
Right,
right.
You're expected to produce it, mix it. Like there's no, you know, money to do this.
Right,
You're
yeah,
supposed to
yeah.
make the album art. You're supposed to come up with the press release. In so many cases, or
Yeah.
there's a label that's like, here's a budget of $600.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
okay, I can get half the album mastered.
Well, the worst part is I was literally uploading something today, this morning, on TuneCore, and there's literally an option to just like basically generate your artwork for you.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what I know. There was
And it was-
mastering, but that's dark.
No, it was
Oh my
literally like
God.
to the point where the button to click upload album artwork or single artwork was smaller than what they were trying to push, which
Oh.
was like a full drop down menu, scroll down like different templates that you could type in your thing and like shift. It was like a mini little Photoshop within the digital distributor.
I don't even. I'm so curious.
It's I mean, I couldn't even bring myself to look at it. I was
Is
just
it an
like,
extra fee of 99 cents?
probably. Thank God my girlfriend's a graphic designer. No, but it's like
A
it's
collaboration with Dolly too, where they can just like generate whatever image you
I was
want.
gonna say, yeah. It's like put your
Just go.
influences here. We'll generate something for you.
Dude, we're so close to that.
No, that's coming.
Like
for
that's
sure.
if that doesn't already exist, I'm
Yeah.
sure it does. It's just like I like Daydream Nation and OK Computer.
Yeah.
It's
All this
just
stuff
like
is pathetic and dark, but it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
It's
it's really.
just so goofy.
But the thing that sucks the most, I think about often, is like you were saying, opening and flipping through, like say, like the booklet of a CD. How many of those images are just completely gone? because they don't exist. Like you go to Spotify and whatever, it's the album cover. There's no back cover. Like there was so much emphasis on the back cover too. Like, you know, you pick up the thing, you flip it around, you look at the back.
Yeah.
Credits.
You know,
like what happened? Like I don't even think that Spotify for the first few years had that right click show who wrote the fucking song.
I didn't even know it had that.
They don't matter. You know, like,
not to mention, like, don't get me started on that.
Yeah,
you're like, I swear I produced this.
Yeah, exact that too.
Wait a minute.
They're like, well, I don't see your name there. It says 2 little lines. Someone forgot to plug in the songwriter.
No, but that's huge. I had a friend who did some producing for a big, I won't name any names, but they did a producing for a big level artist, and like I feel like that would have been a really big moment for this guy, but then it just went nowhere because all it was like a little tag on the guy's Instagram post.
Oh yeah,
and that was it. You know,
there aren't even producer pages, which is kind of fucked when you think about it.
You can't. I don't even. No, you can't sort by label. You can't go. I want to see Apron Records or something.
Right.
Like see what a label has done on Spotify.
Yeah.
I mean, but again, this just goes back to the point of what Spotify is and always has been. And it's not HMV. It's not fucking rotate this. It's not. It's a tech platform that converts data about your perceived moods into raw information to sell. That's what it is. It doesn't. It's not here to provide you with a living to feed your children. It's not here to credit you for anything other than to use music as a way to create information. Right. You know?
Yeah. And geniuses.
I mean, you're the one using it. You can't get mad at them. You know?
Your shit's on Spotify though, because I mean, I was listening to it today.
Yeah. I was talking about this yesterday with someone about how. Okay, back to like the MySpace days and the Blogspot era, let's call it, which is like that, you know, that brief window maybe of 2 or 3 years where there was just an insane universe of people curating collections of the most obscure music ever and putting it up with often scans of the liner notes. Just like complete.
Like 20 jazz funk greats and stuff.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And posting these records for you to download for free.
Yeah.
And you'd have to kind of curate or put together a collection of your own, and you'd have to upload it. I mean, sorry, not upload, but like put it onto your phone or your, I mean, not even phones, iPod at that point. You know, and it was a very personal experience or whatever. But it was a pain in the ass. Like I'm running out of 20 gigs of space. I have to delete half the shit. So, you know, from a consumer or music fan standpoint, I like Spotify. And even from an artist standpoint, yes, I like it. I mean, could it be way better? Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie. I like having my music there for anyone to click on.
I just had this memory of when like LimeWire was a thing, or just like downloading music and then putting onto your iPod was a thing. And I would change all the names of the songs to like shortened, condensed versions so that it would take up less room.
So you can actually see them on the little screen.
Yeah, so no, but not just so it would take up less storage too.
Oh, really?
I don't even know if it worked, but I would shrink them all down to like
spell
one
like
letter.
Radiohead, like Mastercraft.
Take out all the anyway.
Radiohead.
It is what it is. Again, I mean, you can't expect these tech platforms, these like multinational, I mean, I guess you call them multinationals, these huge companies, these tech companies, to be like to have this like strong moral fiber. They're not there for that. You know? And if there's a use for that in your project or in your kind of like life, both on both ends, as the user and the person, you know, who's making music, or you're running a business or a label or something, then you use it. And I mean, I'm not trying to be some contrarian guy. Like, you know, all my fellow musicians hated it. I'm actually, I understand. I'm not like some Joe Rogan. You know, like, I'm not trying to be that. I'm just serious.
Well, no, because here's the thing: is like it comes down to the fact that like, and I think you're doing it right, and I think even like Lies are doing it right. But like the idea of just not relying on it. You're not looking to it to be the only thing. You're using it purely as like a fucking social media platform at this point.
Yeah, right.
It's like, you know what? It's there for you to discover or for you to have like easy access to, because basically everyone can use it. It can be there, but it's like, no, you want to support. You can actually buy the track on whatever. You can buy the vinyl. You can go to the show. You can do whatever. It's like, I don't know. I just think we have to get better at just being like, okay, this shit's not really going to go away, and like really push even the physical. Like we've talked about this many times, but just like the physical aspect of like going to the liner notes and shit. Like people do want it, whether they want to actually put the record on. Sometimes they don't, but having the fucking thing in their hand is like,
that's an incredible That's like something that most people, I always ask this question, and I'm so curious always, why do people buy vinyl?
Do you see a record player in here?
No.
Do you see vinyl in here?
I see records though, and that's what I'm
That is a
saying.
hell of a lot more
I have an
upstairs.
addiction to buying records, but I don't I don't listen to them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I just want to own them. I just want to have them.
I want to encounter them. They radiate some energy in your room, and that's the album art. It's that auxiliary outside material.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. That is a very, very important component to what this is. It's like listening to music and just being like, let's do away with words.
Yeah.
Or like, let's just get rid of rhythm. Or something. I think it's that drastic.
No, yeah,
I really do.
No, I know what you mean. Damn. Well, okay. Let's talk about the new record for a bit, because I feel like it's your most like. I don't want to be the guy to be like, it's your most fully realized record to date, but I think it like really from like your past records like comes together in this like really cohesive like, I don't know. It's like a fucking like album.
Thank you.
And the other ones were albums too. Don't get me wrong. No, but I mean that just like I just like remember like actually just like really like getting into it from the beginning and just being like, oh, like you're going on like a real journey here. That's like, how did this come about? Like, well, also how did the Lies thing come about?
So, what year? It's 2022. Some of those, I'll get to the Lies part in a second, but some of those songs are from, I'd say 2017, 2018. Yeah. And when I was making them, I don't know, this is, okay, how do I get into this? This is a big question because it goes into everything we've already kind of talked about. Because I sat down, at the time I had a Fender Rhodes in my house. Yeah. And I sat down and it was raining outside and this image just like kind of entered my head. You guys, whether you guys do the same kind of stuff, I'm sure. Of course. An image just kind of like possessed me of this like miserable techno dystopian. I don't mean techno music, like technological dystopian kind of Blade Runner thing just entered me, possessed me. And then I started making music just to kind of match that image, and it all was just sitting there and half done or whatever, like it always is. And I just thought in my head, I was really into the label Lies, obviously. Who isn't? I was just like, this reminds me of why I like Lies. It reminds me of their imagery, their aesthetic, or whatever. And then over time, it kind of like stopped and started. I never did anything with these songs. And then
Sorry, what year is this?
2017, 18.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I was living in New York, and I had this one record I made, Salika Absolute.
Which is a great record, by the way.
Thank you. That was the only record I've ever pressed on vinyl of my own.
Yeah.
Which is another topic. Like, there's a point of that. But I don't know. There was a point. Yeah. And the point being that I had a bunch of these kind of test pressing promos that I made, because the pressing plant pressed like 100 extras without sleeves and gave them to me for free. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make these like those old Roxy Music or Led Zeppelin bootlegs where you just print off a piece of paper and glue it to the front, just give them out. So I had one under my arm for some reason, and I was walking down whatever street in Brooklyn with a friend, and I saw that Ron Morelli was DJing somewhere. And I'm like, oh shit, Ron Morelli. And I didn't know Ron, I loved the label and everything, but I was like, shit, let's go see what's up. So I walked in and I saw him, and I'm like, well, okay. And I just walked over to him, and I just slammed the record in his face, kind of like, he was kind of like taking it back because he was focused on mixing, and I'm an asshole like shoving it in his face. But then he, I didn't know if he was gonna be mad, but I gave it to him. He kind of like gave me this like prayer hands thing, being like, thank you, and then went back to his thing. I was like, damn. So fast forward a few days, and I woke up, and everyone was tagging me on Instagram because he had made a post saying, this is some freaky stuff from Canada, like, or who is this, or something along those lines. And I was like, oh shit. So we listened to it, he must be given a million things. And I was like, okay, cool. So
but you're probably one of the few people that handed him a piece of wax.
Maybe, I don't know. I did a little interview with him that I'm going to publish before the show that we're doing in a few weeks. And I asked him why he listened to it, and he said a lot of people send him music and stuff, but he doesn't really listen to all of it. And he said it was because of how it looked.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
right? So here we come, full circle again. And he said there was a list of instruments that I had used on it, and there was just something about it that compelled him to listen to it, I guess. Yeah. And then we just kind of formed a relationship on the internet over that, talking back and forth over the years, and I started doing some. What the first thing I did for him was album art for this Benedek record, Mr. Goods, which is an amazing album. And then he liked what I did with that, and he asked me to design some T-shirts, which none of those kind of came out, or not yet at least. And then he said last year or 2 years ago, maybe last year, I don't remember. At some point he said, if you ever want to do a record that's in the vein of what you gave me, the door's open. And I said, well, shit. And all of a sudden, I was like, wow, I actually have 80% of this record that reminded me of Lies sitting on my hard drive, and I sent it to him.
Sick.
And that's how that happened. And
Fuck. That's crazy.
yeah, it was just
You literally handed him a vinyl.
Well, as you were telling that story, I was like,
That's
what fucking
insane.
year is this?
Yeah, that
Exactly,
sounds like
exactly.
something
This
that
is
would
such-
like some filmmaker chasing someone with their tape.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's true.
What the
That's
fuck?
like oftentimes, like, you know, if somebody hands me a fucking like CD or something,
Yeah.
like I'm actually, well, I don't have a CD player, but like, you know what I mean?
We'll take you
In
for a drive.
theory,
You
in theory,
yeah.
if somebody gives me an actual physical object, you're way more likely to interact with it
Yeah,
than getting an
totally.
email with a SoundCloud link.
Yes,
Yeah.
or worse, a Google Drive link. You need to request permission.
No, fuck that.
But that really,
Never.
that's something that, I mean, everyone, especially in music, kind of has to dance with that idea of how do you share things with people that you want, you know, how do you cold call, quote unquote,
Yeah.
to label or something.
Yeah.
You know, I remember seeing was it Metro Boomin? Some producer was saying, don't ever give me a USB stick. I'm not putting that shit in my computer. I don't know what's on there. If you send me a Google Drive link, or whatever the fuck it's called, I'm not opening it.
Yeah.
And it's fair enough. You know, it's like, what? So you're going to go press vinyl just to give it away? It's like $3,000 to make 100 fucking records. It takes like 8 months. You know, so it's what do you do? I don't know. If it's basically you just do what you do, and that's, I don't know. You know?
No, I don't even,
Yeah, but
Well,
thank you for listening to the record first up and saying that. Thank you both.
Yeah. No, it's an amazing record. But going back to what you were saying about like giving out music and trying to get the attention of people and the actual visual aspect of it.
Yeah.
So there's that project that I'm working on. We're not going to talk about it yet down the line. But we shot a video for it, which looks really sick. And one of the ways that I got people to even click on it was because I was like at a certain point when the tracks were done, was like sending it to people and it's just like, you know, like nothing back, like whatever. Even people I know. And then when the video is done, it has like, you know, the striking image that is just like the first image of the video that's like the placeholder or whatever. And as simple as sending it to people on Instagram, but just having that little video, people are like, damn, this is good. Like, you know what I mean?
Via
Like,
DM, like a YouTube
straight-
link.
Yeah. But
Just that thumbnail was just
Exactly.
the
Thumbnail was
bait.
good enough.
But like a couple of times, you know, when things just like don't send properly and it just like doesn't load the
Yeah,
thumbnail,
yeah.
I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, like what is with that anyway?
I have no idea. But it's the kind of shit where, but it comes down to that thing where I feel like, you know, any generic link, there's a small percentage that someone's actually going to click on it. Whereas as soon as you have some sort
Something
of
that makes it stand out.
physical aspect or visual aspect, it's like it again helps create the vibe, because I think that people are actually too, I don't want to say too stupid, but people kind of need to be like pushed into what you're giving them.
Right.
You know?
They're not music nerds. You know?
Yeah. It's
I
like-
had a bunch of friends like in video and film who got a bunch of views because they just had like clickbaity captions for their videos
What do you mean?
On Instagram?
on Reddit.
On Reddit?
On Reddit, like just normal fucking music videos where they would just like come up with some. I don't even remember like some of them, but like.
It just got like upvoted or whatever.
I don't even know, but they just had some like clickbaity caption like, we ran out of money and then we decided to make a movie about it or something, you know? And then it ended up like just doing numbers, and all these people started watching this video specifically because of their clickbaity caption. So
Yeah, see that?
you gotta
I
get
don't like that story at all.
But all I'm saying is you gotta get creative.
Yeah.
But I know. But I don't.
Gotta get
Do
creative.
either of you watch music videos?
I do.
You know what?
Be
I
honest.
do. I do.
Okay.
Lauren always makes a joke and goes, "Music videos are for boys."
Maybe that's
Yeah, but
true.
Lauren says that about everything that we're into.
Because like
But
I'll be
she's
like,
right.
I'll be like chilling. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta watch this video. Like, I don't know. I actually like music videos like a lot.
Yeah.
What about you?
I mean, I'm a filmmaker, so
Yeah.
yeah,
So you-
100%.
yeah, so-
But like, it has to be something that catches me.
Yeah.
You know, like, and
Yeah.
it's like I'm not gonna watch most music videos.
No, I mean,
But
I
if
would
it's like
definitely
for a
turn them
band I
off.
really like and it's by a director, I find out it's by a director I really like, then of course. But
Yeah.
but a lot less often.
I feel that over the past, let's say since like 2015 or 16 or something, I feel that there's been a lot of the emphasis that a music video accompany a release has kind of dwindled, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that back then there was always like, we got to have 3 videos, they got to match this. Now it's kind of like, you know,
Yeah.
and people are kind of maybe losing faith in that.
Well, the
or-
sad reality is that now it's the fucking visualizer.
I was just going to
Yeah.
bring that up in relation. Like, what? That shit sucks.
The
Like,
visual.
it's just
I remember when the first time I heard that word, I was just like, oh no.
You're like, oh god.
Did you
no.
see what they rolled out this morning or yesterday?
No.
Oh my god! I think it's fuck is it called? I have it right here.
Get it.
It's a new feature on Spotify
Oh no.
that someone mentioned to me.
Wait,
and
is it
I didn't.
Canvas?
No, it's called Get Ready with Music, where you tell Spotify what you're wearing or putting on, or you upload an image and you pick the fabrics and colors, and it plays music to help you get ready for wherever you're going that day.
No fucking
What?
way.
I may be missing some points here. After I read that, I went on Spotify and I tried to engage with this, and then once it asked me like put a picture of myself in there, I closed it because I'm just not doing that.
Yeah,
Because
well,
he's an
But
anonymous
it's
king.
like that's fucking stupid.
Tony Price is gonna come up on a playlist for someone who's going to like walk in the rain, going to a very important business meeting on the other side of the town on a rainy day.
It's like we suggest IBM Contra. But wait, so if you were like, you know, putting on like a suit or something, it would like put on like Sinatra or something like that. Like, is that like what the vibe?
I think so. I didn't get far enough into it. I'm gonna try again, you know, but I don't know. I mean, like,
I gotta
yeah,
check this out
It's like,
later.
oh, you're going for a dinner. How much are you planning on spending? Here's some
That seems like the biggest data mining thing. Like, what?
Oh man.
Yeah, it's like, are you wearing designer clothes?
It might ask that. Like,
Yeah,
really. It might be like,
it's probably gonna pick up on. Yeah, that's like extra dark.
yeah.
Damn, that's fucked. Wait, what were we talking about?
I don't remember. I'm sorry. I just
I
bombed.
just like
your
wiped my mind.
Yeah.
Wait, so then back to the album.
Yes.
Ron Morelli put it out.
Yes, he put it out, and he was really into it. And at first, it was a bit of a different record than it is now. It was way more like miserable.
Okay.
And I don't know, there were less beat-oriented tracks on it. And he said, you know, I think that it needs a few more beat-driven tracks, because I think I want it to connect with people, and, you know, whatever. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So I've never taken advice from anyone before.
I was gonna say,
I have a hard
because-
time doing that.
Yeah,
right?
me too.
You know, so, but I didn't even question it when he said that. I was living in Chinatown in New York at the time, and it was this time of year last year, and I was walking around listening to the record in this weather, to your point, and I was just like, this is gonna, you know, I was just having faith or placing trust in that, and just like just trying to not think with my brain about it. Just,
Right.
you know, walk around, look at these signs, and feel this rain and whatever, and just like, does this work?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, this shit's kind of boring. So
You know, eat some beats.
Yeah.
Fire up the drum
so
machines.
I opened my Dropbox and I had
Yeah.
3 or 4 songs that I had made in the past few years that somehow sounded exactly like it. And again, I didn't overthink. I didn't worry. They just showed up.
Yeah.
And I put it together, and then he was right. And I can't imagine it if it hadn't worked out.
Right.
Same with the art. I had like a really fucking terrible album cover idea
shit.
that was like guiding the whole way. And I was like, I know what I like. And then he's like, this is just it's just not good. I'm like,
that's what he actually trusts, though, because like I feel like
Yeah.
that's Ron Morelli also has like such a not even legacy, because he's fairly Lies only kind of really blew up in like 2015, 16 maybe.
maybe a little earlier, but whatever. But
Yeah. But long enough though. No, long enough where I'm saying that like I mean, if that guy said to do something, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Also, he's like a fucking intense like Italian dude. Like you gotta listen to that guy.
he was right. What am I going to say? You know?
Yeah.
And yeah, so it worked out in that way, you know?
And then were the collaborations with like Alex and Colin that come out? Like, was that on the original
Those
version?
were on the original tracks.
shit,
Yeah,
okay.
I was in LA for a while when Alex was living there.
Okay.
And Alex, we've known Alex, both of us, for a long time now, probably as long as we've known each other. And you know, he's the kind of guy who kind of nomadically appears in different places, as you know, I kind of do too. And sometimes I see him in Beirut, you know. It sounds like a CIA asset or something. Show up in LA.
It's like you again.
My trench coat. But I always wanted to make music with him, and honestly, so many ideas that have shown up on these albums or whatever that I've made have hatched out of things that conversations I've had with him.
Mm-hmm.
Even his music, which has inspired me quite
Yeah.
You know, just he has a very specific feeling to his music.
100%.
You know, and I'd never made music with him. I just spoke about doing it for a
Also,
decade.
we should just for the listeners,
Yeah,
we're talking about
sorry.
Alex sang Hung Tai, formerly known as Dirty Beaches,
Yes.
and Last Lizard at one point.
Yes.
Anyways, continue.
Yeah, so we were in the same place at the same time and hanging out a bunch and having some very deep conversations. And
As you do when you hang out with Alex.
And,
In that downtown LA loft.
Yeah. And he came over and recorded sax in this crazy house that I was living in, and it turned out pretty damn cool. I really liked that track. And
that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I wish it was like an hour long. It's like one of those.
Yeah.
I actually, on that note, that someone sent me a link by some kind of modern hardcore band that they did a lo-fi beats to chill to version of one of their songs, which is an hilarious idea.
What?
Was it Turnstile?
It wasn't Turnstile.
It sounds like something
I don't
they
think
would
it
do.
was Turnstile. It was someone else in that vein, but that's a funny thing.
Well, I remember like Talvi and I did like a Prince Innocence thing a long time ago.
Oh.
We did, it's like, it was one of our songs played as if it was like playing out of like a school dance, but you're standing in the hallway.
Wow, that's
And there's just like a
amazing.
picture of like and it has like a surprising amount of views on.
Is it like a long loop or something? Or
No,
just
it's like
a
one of
version?
our songs. But
Oh,
it's just,
wow.
I just filtered it so that it just like sounds like it's coming like from like over there. It's just
See,
like, but like
people love that
People
stuff. Like,
love.
you know,
I
they-
used to always listen to the Blade Runner soundtrack mixed
that.
with
I still do
mixed
that.
with an hour like rain ambience and a police scanner, all three,
There are
and I
like
would
a
I would
few of them
layer
now,
them.
and
They're
they're-
so good. And that's kind of like that's kind of similar to IBM.
You've uncovered it. That I don't know what it is about that soundtrack or the music that Vangelis did. It's just like
R.I.P. to the ultimate
No,
good.
really. You can just reimagine that shit over and over.
million
No, you
ways.
really can.
No, yeah.
Even fucking CFCF on his like. Do you ever listen to those Night Bus mixes he used to do?
No.
It's like going into this like very micro genre kind of world of like music that like sounds like a specific thing. He created this thing called Night Bus, which was literally music that like sounded like you'd listen to like on the night bus home.
Incredible.
Right.
And like he would put out these mix. He was like a lot of kids were doing it like on like I don't even know like pre-Reddit or something. Not pre-Reddit, but like on Reddit or something, message board type shit. And he made a couple of mixes. I think there's 3 or 4 of them. But like one of them has I forget what the song's even called, but it's one of the Blade Runner songs, but just with like some drums added to it, mixed in with like, and then it would go to like some like weird R&B. But it just had this overall like sound that was like, and like Lauren gets so mad when I like put it on because I always do it in the fall, and I was like it's fall time, it's night bus time. She's like, I don't want to listen to this anymore. It's so depressing. But like things like that are like kind of like important. It's like it's not a genre. It's like it's a feeling.
I
no,
love
it really
spooky
is.
music. Like I love music that makes me feel scared.
I mean,
and
me too.
paranoid.
Actually,
And,
honestly,
yeah.
I do.
I don't know why, but
I like making music like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Just because
something.
like I'm just like not that guy, which neither are you, which is the funniest.
Yeah.
But I mean that in a good way. It's like
No,
it's
yeah.
like you're tapping into something.
Again, I don't know. It's just like this image just possessed me. You know?
Yeah.
And that's I think how this stuff works. Really,
Yeah.
you know?
That's the best stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and when
at
it's
least.
there, if you don't service that idea, it'll crush you. You know,
100%.
really.
Yeah, but
You-
but the aesthetics of all of this are so important. Again, when we come back to like even like Alex, like there was such, even from like, and I know like I don't want to speak on his behalf, but I know that he doesn't really like his Dirty Beaches project, or doesn't like listening back to it or anything like that. And like I honestly like loved that record, those 2 records, like or a bunch of them. Like I loved that shit like when it first came out. But even as he's evolved and moved on, and I can say this about you as well, it's like there's still this like it still continues in its own way. You know what I mean? Where things just
feel
like
that way about you too. No, I don't think that it's like it's that kind of nature versus nurture kind of idea. It's that if you're a creative person who, you know, and you truly do work in service of those transmissions from the ether above,
Yes,
or whatever, your interpretation of that is just going to be yours.
Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Those Dirty Beaches records are so. There's whether or not it's still something that he sees in himself. To me, I still see so much of that in this person.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
And it's just like it's an amazing thing. It's
Yeah.
like probably like it's like watching your friend's kid grow up. It's like
Right,
I know you.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that little guy.
Yeah, and you're
It might
just
be
like
an
your
ambient
father.
album now, but I remember.
Exactly though. Exactly.
I remember when you were just an indie band, man.
Yes.
But so I wanted to ask as well then, because it's something we talked about with Patrick Holland, the kind of transition that one tends to have between, I hate to say it, but like, you know, I feel like we all constantly have switched between, like, let's just say guitar mode and electronic mode. How do you feel about that? And do you think you can do both at the same time?
I can't. I tried sometimes, you know. I always have a guitar out in the room that I make music in, and I do still write a lot of music on guitar, especially more song-oriented stuff, pop-oriented things, just because that's the main instrument that I kind of know how to find what I'm trying to get out of my head.
Yeah.
But to your point, and I thought about this a lot in the past few years, is that the reality is that guitar, my infatuation with guitar music, was just a kind of small window in my life. You know, when I was born, that wasn't what I was raised on or listened to. My parents, you know, are Polynesian and Greek, and they're from the Danforth, you know, like
Hell yeah.
And the Danforth was at that time, in the mid to late 80s and early 90s, and Toronto in general was a booming place for a lot of electronic
for
dance
club
music.
music.
Italo disco and stuff, synth pop, freestyle, which is what my parents were fanatics for.
Yeah.
They
I should also add, because of my sister always talks about this, hip house.
And yes, all this stuff. Like Electric Circus was a thing because there was a lot of stuff leading up to the early 90s that created this crazy culture. We had like the Twilight Zone had a sound system designed by the same guy who did Paradise Garage and stuff, you know, like we had a world-class sound system nightclub where Frankie Knuckles played his first show outside of America in Toronto.
On the Danforth.
Not on the Danforth. That was it was a little too far east for him. No, but there was a club called La Vie, and I'll get back to the point that I'm getting to, that I named this party that I did this year after. But my parents met there, and this is where they would play a lot of freestyle music and electro and stuff like that. And that was the kind of stuff that I would listen to growing up all the time. And my mom would record, and my aunt, they'd record the station from Buffalo, WBLK maybe, I can't remember what it's called, but they'd have like a Quiet Storm show. They'd have like they'd be playing Luther Vandross, Evelyn Champagne King, and all that stuff. And that was like the kind of stuff that I was just infatuated with growing up.
Again, these are genres that aren't necessarily even genres. They're moods.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. There's such a specific mood. But for some reason, you know, as a teenager, I got really into guitar music, you know.
Because when I met you, you were very much like fucking like Strokes,
I was
Libertines, like
swell maps and like everything in the fall. Like it was just like ripping, every other week we're just ripping off. Like today we're gonna rip off the Clean and the Strokes. Next week it's like we're gonna rip off Black Flag and then the Libertines. You know?
Well, because we were also discovering at at that exact moment.
And that Blogspot era, every other week you're like, oh shit. There's the Stooges Funhouse sessions. I'm gonna put a 20-minute saxophone solo squealing over this drum kit fucking burning down. You know, it's like, and then next week that sucks. You know, I actually like Oasis, and I love it all. But you know, this was a brief window of time that I was really again possessed by images, you know, and by myths that I thought when I was like 22 years old, I'm gonna be the next whatever, you know, like it all comes to that point. But then I kind of just started to really not get along with the guitar, and I started to not really feel anything from that music anymore, you know. And I think I specifically remember a moment. I don't know what social media platform this was, but when Actress released Ghettoville, you posted the track Rap. And I was really into that record at that moment, and I was just like, this is kind of it. Like this,
Yeah.
there's some that record to me is like a very. I want to talk about an emotion. That's like that record's like tactile. It's not even an emotion. It's like a concrete building.
Yeah, no,
Right.
that record,
You know?
to this day still blows my mind.
It's
It's
unreal.
it's one of those things that I like. I'm not saying I don't understand it, because I do understand it and love it, but I don't understand it in that it just exists beyond like anything else around it when it came out,
Yes.
and still does. You're still
Yes.
kind of like, what? How did you get here?
It's a
You should
world.
listen to this.
Yeah, I
I
got
highly
it,
recommend you listen to this
Yes.
record, because it's like it's also equal parts scary.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Fuck my favorite.
But that was one of those moments. There were like two other moments that I can tie this to actually,
Yeah.
with regards to guitar rock. So growing up listening to like Stevie B and all these freestyle guys, and then like getting into the Neptunes and Clips and stuff. But then no, this is before the Neptunes. But in grade 3 or 4, I went to someone's house, a relative, and he had a bass. And he was like playing it like below his knees, like slapping. I'm like, what's this? And then he's like, you got to see this. And he puts on the "Got the Life" video by Korn.
hell yeah.
And I'm just like,
yes.
fuck Stevie B, you know? And then that was it for a minute.
Yeah.
And then there was another key moment in probably, I guess, 2001,
Yeah.
when I was like my dad was living in a house that he owns, and there were these roommates there. And they were like these cool 70s guys. You know, they had like fucking beaded curtains with like a mushroom on it or some shit. Like a HR puffin stuff poster, and they were smoking mad weed. And I was like in grade 7, I guess. And I walked through the house, and they're like, hey, how you guys doing? And my dad's like rolling his eyes. We're going to buy the new Korn CD. And it was like Untouchables or whatever the fuck that album with like the pictures of the people. And they just laughed at me. And I right there in that moment, I'm like, I like the Strokes. And it was over.
But that's how quick these things work.
So we go from Stevie B to Korn to the Strokes to Actress to, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra once I put on my tuxedo.
What's the algorithm sees what you're wearing?
I don't know if that answers your question about guitars, but guitar is just a tool, you know? It's just something that it showed up at the time when I could become obsessed with learning something, but you're not really like that anymore when you're past the age of like 14.
Yeah.
And I mean, I did force myself to learn the ins and outs of Ableton when I was 24 years old, which is like an instrument unto itself.
Yeah. Well, would you say that Ghettoville was what kind of like got you, let's say, like turned you backwards into, say, this sort of dance
Yes, because, you know,
which is an odd album, I have to say.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of a nerd war moment for you. Take a look at this book.
Oh my God.
What does the title say?
Ivy's Lead Photography, March and April 2011, South by Southwest special. I thought that was me for a second.
No,
but
you're on page, I think page 2 or 3.
I don't even want to see this.
But it was like, I like found this because I found
Oh! yeah. That's this is Parts and Labor.
this. Of course.
Is everything here Parts and Labor?
I don't
for
know.
the most part. But this is the era, you know. Like this is just after. This is like after trying to be obnoxious. But my point. I'll look at this in a second. My point about Ghettoville is that it. Another key thing. I hate talking about myself, but I guess that's what this is.
This is all about you.
Another thing that threw me off of all of the stuff that I kind of like grew up with was that my dad has always worked in some capacity in and around nightclubs. When I was really young, he was a bouncer at some of them, but he's a crazy genius construction guy, you know, contractor, whatever.
Right.
And he and some of his friends or business partners built a lot of the first wave of clubs on King Street West in the early 2000s and mid 2000s. So while I was in high school and university, I would sweep the floors and eventually start building things and grow up around that era of just before EDM really blew up. That era of like club culture, you know, I didn't go to the clubs necessarily, but you know, I'd hear the music, I'd see the DJs, and it was just fucking abysmal. It was terrible. Yeah. And I was like, this shit sucks. I don't know what this is, you know? But hearing Ghettoville, you know, I mean, this is just also youthful ignorance and being like a guy in Toronto, but we didn't really have the way that London, we didn't have like plastic people in Toronto, you know, like none of my friends were like, you got to see Theo Parrish, you know, we didn't come in contact with that as like 22-year-olds, you know. But hearing Ghettoville just like reconnected me to what this is actually about, you know. And it just, I don't, it is a weird one, but there's just something about that record that really just like pulled me back down to the ground or something, you know.
Because I often think about that too, just like with myself, like what actually, because like there was a switch, like in the same way we're talking, like we knew each other in like a very guitar based world, you know. DIY shows, all that nonsense. And then like something kind of switched in me where I like even just getting into DJing, which like came a bit later, but it was like I'm trying to figure, like I honestly can't remember what it was that was like the first thing that like did it for me. But like maybe some like kind of early DFA stuff I guess would have like kind of crossed between like as like a transitional, you know, guitar to like dance music kind of thing. But I don't know. It's
Did
like
you
weird.
get fed up with playing guitar or listening to that stuff?
I did. I
kind
really
of burned
did.
itself out.
I
Not
really
only
did.
in terms of, you know, doing it yourself, but there was like, you know, in 2008, 9, there was 9, 10, 11, like this era, there was a huge kind of, there was a scene connecting Toronto, Montreal, Brooklyn specifically, like Williamsburg, and with like King Kong, Montreal, barbecue.
Yeah.
The Crystal Stills.
Yeah.
There was just something going on that everyone was like there for, you know. And that,
Which is funny because it's kind of a scene that like didn't really. Not only did it not last, but like no one talks about it.
I know, it's like it just never happened. But it was like,
I was like, guys, I swear I was famous for like half a year.
I was just thinking on the way over here about the time that, what was it Now that you were on the cover of?
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, man. Like, and my sister had taken a picture of Bradford Cox when she was like 17 from Deer Hunter.
Yeah.
On the cover of Exclaim. It was like, these were like rocks. You guys were all rock stars for a minute, but no one knows.
No one remembers.
There's some stuff from the era. It's one of those that will be reissued for $60 in 3 years or something by some label. Start reissuing like our MySpace demos. You know, who knows? $95.
The Lost Tapes of Toronto.
You know that's gonna happen.
We gotta make a
2008 to
documentary about this
2010.
lost scene. That'll
Like the
do
only
it.
relic is literally that book that it's like not even that good of a
I didn't even know this existed, but
I mean, I forgot it existed. So back to the East End then, because we've also have a kinship and a bond over the East End.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm guilty of it. I hate to say it. I'm guilty of, you know, I left.
And you don't go east of Spadina.
No. My parents live
I know,
there.
I know.
Goes
So
for
I go
visits.
visit.
Goes for visits.
I go for
Goes
visits, and I also love the East End, like because it's such. It also pisses me off when people like don't go there.
Yeah.
But it's also like maybe we don't want you there, but like, but it's just like such a funny place because there's like. I always say this, like I'll meet someone like out, like someone who's like a friend of a friend or whatever, and after talking to them for 5 minutes, I'll be like, "You're an East End person, right?" And they're like, "Oh yeah," and it's like happened like 10 times now. There's like a
Very
little
interesting.
something that I can't quite
Interesting.
put my finger on, and then there's also just the camaraderie where once you're like, "Yeah," and you're like a group of fucking Woodbine, a group of Coxville, people are just like,
Yeah.
you almost like have to like hug them,
Yeah.
and just be like, "Yes."
It's crazy to me because it's not far. I can't think of like, you know, I've lived in a few other cities. I've been lucky enough to experience like other major cities like Toronto or bigger than Toronto. No one. There's no city where it's like, oh, it's 30 minutes away. I think I'm gonna stay home.
30 minutes is the cap. That's
Yeah,
like that's
which
the
is-
cap. Nothing over 30
It's
minutes.
fucked. No, it's not even 30 is pushing it.
I
Yeah.
know.
People like it's think of being in like I don't know any city, any major city in the world, and think of Toronto and being like, oh, like when I counted out, I'm like my parents live 12 stops away. It's like that's nothing.
And
You're in
that's
New York,
that's
and you
pretty far east a little. You know, it's not like you go to Broadview. You like what? They live at Woodbine.
Woodbine, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
but that's also not far at all.
not even far at all.
Because like I was like it's also literally it basically takes 1 minute to go between stations,
Yeah.
and it's
It's like what?
It's like I can get there in like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like nothing. But like people refuse to do it, and like
I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't because you know in terms of nightlife and parties and stuff. You know the Danforth. When I'm saying the Danforth, I'm specifically talking more about what is now called Greektown, like you know that area between Broadview and Dawnlands. Like you know in the 90s, my dad owned a tanning salon called Tonga Sun Tanning because he's Tongan, but. He owned a tanning salon there, so I was, you know, I grew up around some freaks in that area. You know, there was a club called the Myth, which
Okay.
was owned by a bunch of the guys who would open a lot of the things on King Street.
Yeah.
That would open Buka and Brant House and all these things. But that was a crazy looking place my dad helped build, and I remember seeing it. You know,
where was it?
it's now called Louis Cypher or something. It's like this fucking craft brew hellhole. You know, but it's packed with people. They love to drink soap fucking beer. But anyways, the Prince would hang out there. You know, there's pictures of like fucking Brad Pitt going for dinner at Christina's on my corner. It was like it was electric. There was still a very much a Greek energy too.
Yeah.
This place
Yeah.
Cafe Frappe, which is now a fucking Mary Brown's Chicken. Fuck off. You know what happened there? And this is just a quick side note. I'm sorry to keep throwing this up. This was a place that was just like, it was like going to a cafe in Athens. And this is what Greek people do. They go and they have coffee and they talk in Toronto specifically about nonsense. But a lot of times it's just yap. That's what we do.
Yeah.
But people will go to Cafe Frappe and have a coffee and nurse it and talk till 11 p.m.
Yeah.
But the people in the corner, the fucking... Like, there's a separation between Greektown and Riverdale. Let's just be honest. But south of Danforth, I don't talk to those people. Those people complained and made it. I might be mixing a bunch of this up. There's some pretty good writing about this. But the laws were passed that side patios off of certain streets in the Danforth had to be taken down. Cafe Frappe died. I don't know if this was directed because of that or if I'm thinking of another spot. But
No, let's
that's
blame it
part
on
of
Riverdale.
that's probably what it was.
Fuck
But,
yeah, let's go.
You know, this is just fuck you.
Yeah.
Go back to whatever fucking where just like you can't just
Suburb.
come in and start
I know.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
but
also, Greektown was
Jesus
such a
Christ.
huge part of my childhood too,
Yes.
because my parents we used to like when we would go out to dinner, we went to fucking like Mr. Greek or fucking
the
what's
friendly Greek.
the friendly
you know?
like any of those. Mr. Greek was for some reason my parents' favorite.
No, because it had a magic that that specific. Anyways,
And then what's the other one on the other side? There's the
sauce.
other one on the other side that I actually still go to, which is amazing. It's you got a fucking octopus for like $12. It's
Hell
so
yeah.
good. You know what I'm talking about?
Pantheon?
No.
Mezes?
No. Massini. Yeah.
The greatest Greek restaurant outside of Greece is called Athens Restaurant, not Athens Pastries. It's east of Papes. It's a little bit outside the box
Okay.
of that little strip, but it's been there since the 70s, maybe even earlier, and it's the realest shit.
Okay.
It's the funniest place you'll ever go for dinner in this
Fuck, we
city.
gotta go sometime.
The food, we gotta go. The food is incredible. Before COVID, you'd go into the kitchen and see what the specials are.
Nice.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
cast of characters that you'll see there. The guy George who owns it is a legend. Like he's you have to meet this guy. But he's a party animal too. But I went in there like 2 weeks ago or something. And he's like, I'm like, how you doing, man? He's like, oh, I'm all right. I had a little bit too much juice last night. I was on King Street and then I ended up at Drake's house. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? I don't know. Just showing me pictures. It's like, you know, Drake's house kind of looks like Yorkdale Mall.
Yeah.
You're in Drake's house, man. But anyways, Greektown was definitely growing up. It was a part of the city that is now just nothing.
Like I used to go get ice cream at the fucking Baskin Robbins on the corner. There's like this was just like part of like, and it's funny because trying to think of the last time I was like in Greektown, which actually wasn't that long ago. I'd say a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like it's losing its edge.
It's gone. It's been sanded down. Yeah, you know, it has lost its edge. It's pathetic because
Yeah.
it's again, like, what city do you know where, you know, that far east of the center of the fucking city
Yeah.
is no man's land.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like you can walk down the street on a Saturday night at 9 or 10 p.m. and it's fucking dead.
Yeah.
And that's because, again, these Riverdale people moved in with their jobs in the film industry. I'm just kidding.
Don't worry, I don't worry.
They need neither do I. Look, there's just something that happened there. It's a shame because it was just like, you know, it's still there's still that greasiness, that filth in the back alleys there. There's still the casinos
That's
underground.
why I still like it.
And yeah, you can still feel it. You can still feel it. You still see those characters walking around.
And
you know.
the East End characters are like real characters. West End characters, I feel like a little too spoiled.
Right.
There is a difference. There is definitely
Also,
a
just like
difference.
there's a certain look to like a generally like it's usually like a white guy. I'm gonna say this, but like there's like that East End style. I'm talking like
Oh, yeah.
like pajama pants, like what's the that like googly eyed like new era hat. It's like I forget the character's name. There's like certain things with like a pair of aviators, and you're just like, damn, like where do you even find these clothes?
Like, you know what? Maine and Danforth is maybe the most like New York looking corner of Toronto. Isn't it?
It totally is.
Like that Hakeem Optical's filthy.
It's like you're like Wyckoff or like something.
Yeah,
like
it's like the Myrtle Broadway of Toronto.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Oh my God.
Myrtle Broadway of Toronto. It really is.
It is. Oh my God. I've been looking to figure out what that is, and that's it.
Oh my God. Well, people should be going to the East End.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
East End is...
I remember me and my friends after like third-year university were like, you know what, we're sick of all this shit. Let's go to the East End. Let's start hanging out there. And then we went to like what's that one? Far Side? Is that?
Oh my God,
and
yeah, Far Side.
That was like the only place we went to.
I don't even know what that is.
It's in Chinatown.
Did not
East.
explore. Did not explore at
Oh,
all.
yeah.
You know what happened there? I went there on New Year's Eve because I was at someone's house in the area. I'm like, let's go get a drink at the strike of midnight.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
We walk in there. It's like a video game bar.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Anyway, it's like kind of like Atari games on the fucking wall and VHS shit, whatever. Maybe someone DJing and trying to be funny on the mic, just not my vibe or my sense of humor. Just like I was just miserable, you know. And then I'm waiting for this countdown. It doesn't come, and I look, and it's like 12:01. No one does anything. And then all of a sudden, they play the Oliver Jewelers commercial on the fucking thing. I'm the cash man, and I'm just like. I was pissed. But anyways, I ended up doing that song last year.
Yeah, you did. Oh yeah,
But that's my experience.
Wait, what do you mean
at
you
that
did that
bar.
song?
You redid the Cashman song.
Oh shit.
I did.
I completely forgot that you did that.
Yeah, that was one of the greatest things I've ever had the
Wait,
honor
was
to
that for like the reboot of the commercial?
Yeah,
that they
yeah.
did?
they rebranded and stuff, and I got
Holy
asked to
shit.
do it. But
Was that through Paul?
yes, it was.
Okay, yeah, because I remember him telling me about this commercial that he was doing.
Yeah.
Around this, we were working on something at the time, and he's like, I'm doing like the Cashman commercial, and he's like, I hit up fucking Tony Price, and I was like,
That's
that was the
so
greatest
sick.
email I've ever received. I didn't know what
Holy
to
shit.
expect. I was just like reading it. I was like, and then I saw what it was, and in my jaw, I just burst into fucking laughter and sent it
Holy
to everyone
shit.
I know. I'm like, if this doesn't happen, it doesn't matter.
I got asked. That's enough.
Like I've been a fan of, and also just like making fun of that guy since I was born.
Yes.
You know,
That was the first guy that I like laughed at.
and I could not fucking believe.
nah, we're fine with that. Though.
Oh yeah, our old neighborhood at Woodbine is now called Beaches North. Are you aware of that?
Yeah.
Beaches North.
I actually didn't know that because I remember when it was the Upper Beaches.
Oh, sorry, it is Upper Beaches. You're right. Maybe I think that's what.
But Beaches North might also just be, I don't know. It's best not to. Think
It's
about
not the fucking Upper
No,
Beaches. It's
no.
its own beast.
Oh
okay?
yeah, it's its own fucking beast over there. It's like a.
The last thing I'll say about the East End is that did you know that the area between I think Donlands and Coxwell has a name?
Yeah.
The Danny.
Oof.
No.
I did know that.
It's on the signs. I
I
remember
know.
they were trying to decide what it was going to be called, and the idea of Little Ethiopia was thrown in, and I'm like, that would be incredible because there is
Yeah.
a amazing stretch of
Yeah.
Ethiopian businesses there. Some of
they're
the other great restaurants in the East End that no one goes to,
Yeah.
and no way. The Riverdale people said, "There's just no way."
They
I don't
went
live in
with
Little
the
Ethiopia.
Danny.
No, it was like the Riverdale East people, the Greenwood people.
Yeah,
they're like, "I don't live in Little Ethiopia. Absolutely not. We're calling it the Danny."
Jesus Christ.
true. It's literally true. Like, it's so fucked. God.
Every single time I go to the East End, I get yelled at by some white woman. No matter what I do, I don't know what it is.
That's part of
The
it.
looks you get too, like I like smoke a cigarette and they're just like, ugh.
Yeah, it feels no. You know what it feels
up in
like?
this
It feels
neighborhood.
like being in Vancouver.
Oh my
That's what it
God!
feels
Is
like.
that
No,
what it's
don't
like?
That's
say
what
that.
it feels
Don't
like.
say that.
No, it does.
I gotta start-
swear
I
to
gotta
It's
God.
offensive to me.
I know. I'm sorry. I apologize, but those people, they make it feel like Vancouver. Like, in
man.
Vancouver, you walk down the street smoking a cigarette, and everybody looks at you like you're the worst
Yeah.
person to ever walk down that street. It's
How dare you.
insane. It's insane.
Oh my god. Well, the last kind of big thing I wanted to talk about actually was throwing parties, which is I feel like a new thing
Yeah.
here at least.
Something I'm uncomfortable actually doing.
But you've been like, well, first of all, I haven't been to them, but I should say I tried to come and I couldn't get in.
Really?
The one that you did, I believe
June
it was the
1st or
first one.
something?
It was
Yeah.
the one when it was Dundas West Fest.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We were hanging out, and I actually just didn't bother because I was talking to somebody who was in line, and they're like, "It's crazy here. Like you can't get in." And I was like, "Well, I guess I'm just going home." And then, which is again a good thing. It's great that
Yeah.
it's like packed.
Yeah.
So you're definitely doing something right. But how did this is like a new thing? I feel like this is like something that's needed in the city.
Yeah, I wanted to what's the best way to say this without being a prick? I just feel that I had like a bit of like I just kind of hit a point where I was like, okay, well, everyone wants to fit in somewhere now. You know?
Yeah.
And maybe it's time to start thinking about how you can be the person that, makes that something that, I don't know. Maybe
people
it ties
can fit
back to what you're
into,
saying about maximum exposure. It's like, I'm not trying to do anything specific. All I know is that people like things,
Yeah.
I have a specific sense of that, and how can you bring that together, whatever. And then I decided to come back to Toronto because New York was really pissing me off. And I just decided to come back, and when I came here, I just decided that I'm going to try and do my own thing, I don't feel like I fit in here really in many ways in terms of music or socially. I'm also just, that's not anything specific or anyone's fault. I just don't really like, I don't party and go out very often.
Right.
I don't play live even. I have, but I don't like doing it.
Yeah.
But I just want to find a way to bring what I'm trying to do or what I've been doing on the internet off the internet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And especially with electronic music and dance music, as with any music scene, there's a lot of like, people really use it to help brand themselves and use it to create an identity for themselves, and that becomes a kind of like a clubhouse type of vibe, And I hate that shit.
Yeah.
I also just think that makes for horrible music
Yep.
a lot of the time.
And unfun parties.
Unfun parties. Like, I hate like incel techno. Like if there's no funk element to dance music, I'm not there. Neither is it. It has to. Anyways, my point is that with these parties, I just like, I started thinking a lot about these clubs on the Danforth and looking at pictures that my family had from these places. Talking to my friend's dad, who was a DJ in the 80s, and just realizing like how rich the history of that stuff is in this city, and how my parents aren't musicians. They're not like they weren't like whatever the equivalent of like NTS heads are. It's like they're just people who like to hear banging music and would go out
and have a good time.
So I was lucky enough coming back here to have some younger guys come up to me and just approach me amongst other people and just say they like what I was doing, and that I kind of understood or whatever, and that they felt that there was a bit of a void happening. There's a void here where people seem to have an obsession with pretending they're not here. It's like, we're going to do like a Berlin thing here. Like we're going to do like that kind of a night, or we're going to do like a whatever night here. And there's a club that opened on King Street that will not go named. That's just like all they do is book people that have NTS shows. Like, like, what is the point of that?
I know what you're talking about.
Like tie this back to what we had. Like High Bias Records is a label from the early 90s and late 80s in Toronto. It's one of the greatest house music labels ever, and I didn't even know about this until I was like 25. We have an insane culture here. So basically, I was like, how can I get this off the internet? And I thought, maybe it's time to throw a party and do it in a way that's not. It's not one of these like, no cell phones on the dance floor. You're not going to know a single track tonight. You're not going to like a single track tonight, but you're going to be here because that's where you want to be, because that's where you're told you should be. I want it to be something that's like, you come in here, and if you don't like dancing, don't fucking dance.
Okay, I have to stop you there, because
that was the one thing that you brought up to me.
When you put that in the description, I literally started clapping. I was like, bravo. Because there was this thing, and like it drove me a little bit nuts, and it kind of goes to almost the exact opposite of what you're talking about with the sort of like incel techno thing. But like there was this thing where people were posting a lot, and I get it. I totally get it, where it was like, if you don't dance, don't come. And I was like I get it. You don't have to you don't want to DJ to people standing still. But at the same time, I don't fucking want to dance all the time. In fact, I don't actually even really like dancing. But I like dance music. And that's all of a sudden it's like, oh, you shouldn't come because you're not going to dance. It's like, excuse me? Like I don't know. When you put that, it's like, it doesn't, and my thing is not even to be like I just like the fact that you were like, come dance if you want, but if you don't have to dance. You just enjoy the music, because there's something. It's supposed to be a fun party, and you shouldn't be forced into.
Well, there shouldn't be rules like that. There shouldn't be a thing that you were supposed to do.
It's like the best part.
Except for have fun.
Yeah, hopefully. when you look back at some of these parties, even just in in the 80s and 90s and stuff, it's like you had people dancing. You had people chilling in the back. You had people
In
sitting
the
down
bathroom.
talking. People in the bathroom. It's like it was the whole thing was a vibe. It was like, and they were all doing their own thing and there for the same reason, which was to listen to good music and hang out with their friends and have a good time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like, I don't know. I think that the parties that you're throwing and just like from like seeing them from a distance, I'm like, I'm definitely gonna come.
Thank you.
To the next one that you're doing.
Thank you.
Which we'll get to in a sec. But like, I don't know. It just there seems to be like a sense of freedom to the way they're.
To your point about bringing up the 80s New York and stuff, I was reading a book earlier this year called Life and Death on the New York Dance Floor. It's like one of the best music books I've read in a long time, but it just talks about this 3 or 4 year period and how everything converged. You know, stuff, the hip hop in the Bronx coming together with like the punk and on the Bowery. Everything came together. Yeah. But there was one line in that book or one sentence that just blew my mind, which was an obvious one, which is that this was before everyone or most people even had an answering machine in their house. So think about what your life would be like on a Friday night at that time. You don't know what you're going to do. You don't know where anyone is. Your friends aren't picking up the phone. You go to a place.
Yes.
You show up and something happens.
Yeah.
You know, and again, it goes to your point about rules and stuff. It's like you shouldn't... You should there should be parties and happenings or venues or places where you can just go and not know what's going to happen.
100%.
Go there and just, you know, you don't know who's going to show up. You don't have to like, you know, the thing is that we're putting the fucking cart before the horse with all this stuff, like, you know, the map before the goddamn territory. It's like, this is what this event is. This is what it's going to look like, sound like. This is what you're going to look like. This is what you're going to post. And you're going to show up there. It's like, fuck off.
Yes.
It's so true.
It's so fucking true.
It's like even even when we threw the party that we threw, like a big part of it was to try to do something that like unfortunately was the most simple thing. I was like, I want to throw a fun party.
Yeah, that was it.
Yes.
That was it.
Literally
that was it.
I didn't want it to be about myself. I didn't want it to be about it. Like I did actually DJ for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Between Rob Gordon and fucking God's Mom, but that was just to transition. Rob playing vinyl.
Even people came up to me and like, oh, like I was expecting like cold pod balloons and shit. It's like, no, that's not what we wanted to do.
Wanted to
we
throw
just wanted
a
to have
sick
a party,
ass party.
And
like
capture it. And,
yeah,
you know.
and put out cameras and just make it a thing that was like fun and like. That's the thing that I think is actually missing in a lot of Toronto parties. And even going back to when you were posting things being like, I'm looking for projectors, or I'm looking for TVs, things to just like the little things. People kind of do not the bare minimum, but rely too heavily on the venue. And I think when you rely too heavily on the venue, then things can get a little bit stale quickly. Yeah. Whereas simple things that, like, again, when we did the cameras thing and just having cameras around, sitting around, people loved that because it was this thing where it was like, it was this new thing where it's like, pick up the camera, take a picture, put it back. It's like things that are just like, you know, you put a TV, it's like, cool, they actually care.
Yeah.
It's really not that hard.
It's really not that
It's just, you got to just stop thinking about yourself so much.
But it seems like all of those extra things that people usually do about parties is make more rules. Like you have to dress a certain way, or like, you know what I mean? All the things that we probably shouldn't be doing to make like a fun, inviting party.
It would be amazing to do something in the East End where, because it's such a foreign territory, you know, it'd be like I really want to do. I tried to the point that you're going to bring up. I tried to book a show. I tried to find a place to do a show in the East End, and I was thinking, you know, you're going to need like a bigger name from out of town to get anyone to cross Spadina. But even then, I still think it would be quite difficult. But you could get some freaky people out from the East End to show up. You know, like to your point about that. You know. But God forbid
that's the dream.
You see someone you don't know from Instagram. That's an anxiety attack waiting to happen.
But yeah, I mean, it's so sad. But like, I would love for there to be a party that was a little bit far away for the simple, even when you look back at some of these movies and things, like the idea of like, sure, times have changed, but like the idea of getting into an Uber with like your friends and being like, we got to drive for 15-20 minutes. And then you're like, the anticipation, it's like so much of this shit is like, I'm walking down to Dundas and I'm like, oh, we're here. It's like, it's like, sure, no disrespect to Dundas. It's fine. I love it. It's great. But like, you know, there's something fun about just different neighborhoods and like actually expanding beyond like, the bubble. And I guess there are some of those like more warehousey things that were happening like a bit north and stuff, like more like legit rave type situations, which I didn't go to. But
those too, like, I mean, those are also just like so pre-designed. It's, you know, again, it's so hard to just, I don't know.
Well, those are for fashion kids.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not trying to throw any shade or anything, but I feel like those parties are very like fashion oriented. Like a lot of my friends in fashion are get very excited about those parties because there's something to like do. They like dress up for it, and it's like a big fun thing for them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
I'm
wanna
down
do
with that because
though.
at least that's another aspect of it being about the ego of the DJ.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
About it not being about the ego.
It being some sort of thing to incorporate the audience. That just like makes it like you know,
Adds
I'm
an
not
edge
gonna go
to it.
like
It's just an edge that people like you and me aren't necessarily going to want to do.
Yeah, no, fuck no. Absolutely not. But I appreciate the effort.
100%.
You know, you want to throw like a white party, throw a white party. Someone should throw a white party.
Well, I still think we should do our masked ball party. Shh. Oh shit. Redact. I feel like we've talked.
Yeah,
about
we
this
have
already.
talked about it. Yeah, except they don't realize that we're actually gonna do it. Sick.
Yeah.
The last thing I was gonna say, Ron Morelli, the party.
Yeah. October 7th at a place called Black Space or 1188 Queen Street West. I don't know if you guys have been to that venue. It's upstairs. It's near the Drake Hotel. It's on the north side of Queen West. I think somewhere, I don't know, east of Gladstone. Anyways.
Oh, crazy. I thought it was at the place we will not say the name of that you mentioned earlier on King Street.
Absolutely not.
I just thought that that's where it was.
I tried to hit up someone we really like, Stephen Julian from Apron Records, but they already beat me to the punch because he has an NTS show, and you know.
Oh my! So of course they were like, yeah, he'd been booked a couple months ago.
I don't even know these people personally. I just like making fun of King Street. It's a King Street. Right?
Yeah, we didn't say the name. It's fine.
I think that with this place, because it's not, you know, being watched or whatever, you can kind of do what you want. So I think it'll be good. I also think there's that element of danger. I mean, I know danger's the wrong word, but it has an edge. You know?
Yes. All right, Tony Price.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much. That
coming
was
in.
really fun. That was my first time on a podcast, and I mean, shit.
That was really sick. This is gonna be a pretty good episode.
Hell
I
yeah.
hope I didn't offend anyone or say anything mean.
That's the whole point. Now,
All right, make your
We're nice
apologies
people.
now.
Yeah.